Broadcasting live from Israel.
IsraelSportsRadio.com.
When the bases are loaded, smart investors don't step back. Find out what they're doing from international money expert Doug Goldstein on the Goldstein on Gelt Show, Mondays at 7 p.m.
We're standing outside El Gaucho restaurant here in downtown Jerusalem, and we see another happy, satisfied customer. Ma'am, what is your name?
Kashet?
And what did you think of El Gaucho restaurant?
Oh, incredible. I'm not much of a meat eater, but when I do eat meat, I go out to El Gaucho. My husband brought me here for an anniversary dinner, and I wasn't crazy about going to a meat place for an anniversary dinner, but the meat was so tender that I had to come back a second time. So here I am for the second time.
Well, you heard it right from the cow's mouth. El Gaucho in downtown Jerusalem.
This is Tamar Cass, and you're listening to Israeli Sports Radio.
DJ Venom. DJ Venom. DJ Venom. DJing parties throughout Israel. Birthday parties, weddings, club events, bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs, and much more. You pick the type of music, and DJ Venom will turn your event to the party of the year. Available Sunday through Thursday. Call 052-952-6506 or email djvenom1984@yahoo.com. That's 052-952-6506 or email djvenom1984@yahoo.com. Book your party today. That's DJ Venom.
This is Dimitri Salita, and you're listening to IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Broadcasting live from Jerusalem. IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Hi, this is Rafael Guerrero. This is Louis Live. Today we're going to have a 1-hour segment, which will be hosted by me, Rafael. Ari will not be in today, so I'm very excited to start off the week. We're having an amazing show, amazing show as well as an amazing week. We're going to have NBA Director of Scouting, the Boston Celtics President Richard Gotham, a lot of great guests, Clenna Carter from our Southern correspondent in the United States. But today we're going to start off with a special guest. His name is Zachary Fisher. He's a huge Washington Redskins fan, a Washington, D.C. guy. So we're gonna ring him up right now, and we're going to hope we can catch him and talk to him. And then starting at 11:20 Eastern Standard Time, we're going to have Andy Gershman on the show, the author of Modern Day Maccabees. But right now we're ringing Zachary Fisher, and we hope he can pick up.
Hello?
Hi, am I speaking with Zachary Fisher?
Yes, you are.
Zachary Fisher on Louis Live right now. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm happy to be on a Jewish radio station. Always proud to be a Zionist.
That's right. You are Jewish, and we're happy to have you on. Let's get right to it. We have about 15 minutes, so there's a lot of good stuff to talk about. As I was telling our listeners before you came on, you are a DC guy, born and raised in the area, huge Redskins fan. So let's get to it. What do you think the Redskins are going to do with their pick? Everyone's talking with their draft pick. That is, everyone's talking about them drafting Robert Griffin III. Do you see anything else happening? What do you think of Griffin III, and what do you think of the Redskins next year?
Oh, there's no way to get cute about it. RG3 will be the pick. I see he'll be a very solid quarterback. I don't like what we necessarily gave up for him. I'd see that. I don't think he'll quite have a Newton season, but I could see us going about 8-8.
Okay,
and hopefully heading in the right direction.
This is, I believe, was Shanahan's third year in charge. Third year, I believe. It'll become his third year. Last 2 years have not been so successful.
This coming in is his third year.
Right. We had the whole Rex Grossman, John Beck thing. That obviously didn't work. The year before we had the Donovan McNabb experiment. He's now out of the league, so also that didn't work. So Chris Coolio is injured a lot of the year. Who do you think they get Robert Griffin III? Who is Robert Griffin III going to throw the ball to? I'm sure a lot of Redskins fans are wondering that.
If Fred Davis can put down the ball long enough to stay on the field, he's a very viable tight end.
Okay, and what about the running game? Do you expect it to improve from last year?
Certainly optimistic. Classic Shanahan is to not have like a big name running back. I'm fine with Evan Royster, Roy Alu. Just I'm fine with the no-name backs. It's all about the blocking in Shanahan's team.
Right, and he's very well known for that in his Denver days. As a Redskin fan, this is, like we said, his third year. I think his contract was a 4-year contract when he got signed. A lot of money. Dan Snyder made a huge splash by signing him, but really nothing has happened since he's been there. The Eagles, you got to expect they're going to be better the next year. The Giants are going to be, riding high after the Super Bowl win. And, of course, I know you hate the Cowboys, man, but the Cowboys will probably be improved next year. So this could be a tough division. What do you think Snyder's ownership, how many years do you think Shanahan has left before maybe he's fired or they just don't renew his contract? Or what are you expecting to see out of Stan Snyder? He's always hires some pretty crazy coaches.
Snyder's money is very attractive to any coach, but if he fires Shanahan before the contract runs out, that's going to make the job a whole lot less attractive. It's been tough to work for Dan Snyder in the past, and I think he really needs to prove that he can stay with the coach because, A, it just might work if you give it time. Bruce Allen's doing some good things in the front office. That might translate to Shanahan doing some good things on the field. And I don't think we could replace him with someone better. I think people will see it as a really bad job if Shanahan gets fired. Okay. That's the word around D.C.
Right, and like I said, Snyder's hired some pretty crazy coaches. He got Gibbs back a few years ago. That was actually kind of successful. If you look at the Redskins the last, 10 years, that was kind of...
I agree. Right. At the time, people complained because it wasn't, glory days, 3 more Lombardi. But as far as in the Snyder era, 2 of the 3 playoff appearances are under Gibbs.
Right, and then he went
and that's only a 4-year run, so...
Yeah, no, it's very
actually
impressive.
Very successful for...
Then, of course, Gibbs had to go back and do his NASCAR business, but that's a whole other issue. Then he went with Zorn, who was the year before was a quarterbacks coach, so I still don't really understand that hire. And by the end of the season, he was done, or a couple seasons, whatever it was. But anyway, let's shift away a little from the NFL. The season's over. Obviously, the draft's coming up. And let's talk about the playoffs. There's a lot of great stories going on right now. There's a lot of good stuff, a lot of great games. I watched the Mavericks-Lakers game last night in Israel. It was great to get to watch a game live. Let's start with the Eastern Conference, that is, and looking up to the draft. The Bobcats are by far the worst team in the NBA right now, and it's looking like they're going to secure the number 1 pick. They have a lot of good young guys. You even have DJ White, the former Hoosier. But they really have Kemba Walker, who could develop into a star. But obviously they're going to go with Anthony Davis with the number 1 pick if they secure it. Do you think that he has enough offensive presence to maybe help Charlotte bump up, win 10 more games next year than they did this year and help them be in the hunt for the playoffs? Because a couple of years ago they were always that 8 seed team with Steven Jackson and all those guys. But in the last year they've really kind of fallen off. So what do you think?
Davis will take him in the right direction for sure, but as it was pointed out by Phil Simmons, who I always enjoy reading,
right,
their 3 best guys are Walker, Mullins, and I can't even think of the other one, and I guess that's how the Bobcats are.
Right.
But and then he pointed out those guys wouldn't even be rotation players on any of the playoff teams. Yeah,
that's really true. I mean, and it's also they have DJ Augustine, who's kind of he shows some flashes every once in a while, and he was a great guy in college. I'm looking at the roster right now just to examine it more. Wow, yeah, Tyrus Thomas went there for that huge money. He's making $8 million a year. That's second on the team to Corey Maggette. A lot of people forget he's on the team. Wow. Looking at this team though, Desanja Diop, who came from Dallas, is making $7 million, but he's not a $7 million guy. Matt Carroll is just known as a 3-point shooter. This team's lacking any, a face of the franchise. Jamario Moon, he was on the Cavs last year. He came up with the Raptors. He was a junior college player. Eduardo Nahara. These are just a lot of old guys, a lot of veterans who had their years of prime. Eduardo Nahara, of course, with the Mavericks. Yeah, as you mentioned, Byron Mullins was supposed to be, I believe he was a first-round pick. It was supposed to help them out. The Ohio State guy probably should have stayed in college a couple more years. Corey Higgins.
No, he would have been exposed further.
Right. That's true. I guess he got his money now, and he's happy with it. He's making $1.3 million for really not doing anything. But yeah, this team really needs some help. I agree with you. I don't think Davis is going to turn it around. It's very sad because it's under Jordan's leadership. He's a new owner, of course. So we'll see what happens with that. But anyway, so we talked a little draft. Let's get to the playoffs. Before I ask you a couple questions, I just want to ask you, what are you looking forward to? What's the most intriguing first-round matchup for you? Potential first-round matchup. Obviously, the playoffs aren't over. But if the playoffs ended today, what would you be looking forward to?
Well, if they ended today, the Knicks would finish a half game behind the Sixers, but I see them flip-flopping. So I see Heat-Knicks as a first-round matchup, and I'm very intrigued by that matchup, obviously.
Okay, and yeah, that should be a very good matchup. I want to talk about some surprise teams in both. Let's start with the Eastern Conference. Maybe some teams that no one gave any love to at the start of the year. They've really turned things around. Of course, you're a student at Indiana University, so let's start with your backyard Indiana Pacers, who've really had a great year under Coach Frank Vogel, who was given the head coaching job in the summer after he was interim coach last year and almost defeated the Bulls in that first-round playoff series. 38-32, 20-8 at home, and a winning record on the road. That's pretty impressive. What do you think's been the key to Indiana's success?
A whole bunch of team guys.
Okay.
A lot of guys making big improvements. Roy Hibbert getting to all-star level. I believe he was an all-star selection this year, correct?
Yeah, I think he was one of the reserves, or he was. Yes.
And then I think the other big thing, which was a shocker to me, because when Paul George was selected a few years back at, I believe, the 10th pick, I thought that was a huge reach.
Right.
But he turned out to be one of the best players from whatever draft that was.
Right. He's also was a mid-major guy, Fresno State grad. So I remember a lot of people were a bit shocked by that selection, but you're absolutely right to end up working out. And Tyler Hansbrough, in my opinion, has been really. Everyone said he was never going to be a good NBA player, but you look at his stat line some nights, 20 points, 12 rebounds. So he's definitely showing up. And a big thing a lot of people are forgetting is David West was a great addition to this team, a lot of leadership. What do you think?
Yeah, they have a lot of good veteran guys such as West. I see them ultimately as the type of team like what the Hawks have been the last 5 years. They've got the guys. They're going to be solid. They're going to be a playoff team every year. But can they get over that hump and win a series with their talent? They got some decent talent, but they've gotten the third position based off of effort more than talent, and I can't see them competing when everyone steps it up.
Okay, that's good analysis there. Then let's kind of reach down. We got the Knicks. Knicks and Philly are kind of battling for that 7-8 spot. The Knicks are 8 right now. Philly's half game in front. Philly's kind of dropped off. They're only 3 games over 500. I remember a month ago when they were 10 games over 500. So they've kind of been struggling lately. But still, Coach Collins has done a very, very good job with that squad. If you look at that squad, there's really not a lot of big names on it besides Andre Iguodala. But the Knicks Bulls is, let's just say Knicks Bulls. What do you think? Do you think maybe Knicks can grab one in Madison Square Garden, maybe even 2? What do you think of this series?
It's definitely not a sweep. It's definitely not over in 5. And perhaps I'm a little biased. My dad is from northern New Jersey, grew up a Knicks fan, so
right.
When the Wizards aren't much to look at, then I tend to pay a bit of attention to the Knicks. But I must say, when you have Melo, and Amari's out, Jeremy Lin's out, Melo's confident to be ball dominant, which is, his natural habitat.
Mm-hmm.
He's dangerous in any given game. He can beat you on his own with all the problems the Bulls have run into by having Rose not healthy all season. Rip hasn't really been healthy. They're going to have trouble getting Rose back into that lineup and having chemistry. And if Melo wants to play,
mm-hmm.
This could go 6, this could go 7.
Wow.
I can't see the Knicks winning, but I could see the Knicks bruising the Bulls to the point of ruining their playoff run. I mean, bruising literally. That's going to be a really chippy series, and
okay, wow. So
someone could get injured.
You're saying this can go 7?
Easily.
Okay, cool. Wow. Okay, then so we covered. You always got to talk about the Heat when you're talking about the NBA. They secured the division last night, or they clinched the division. That is 42-17, 25-4 at home, which is right up there, I believe, with the Bulls. With the top 4 teams, Bulls, San Antonio, Oklahoma City, and the Lakers. It's about the best, top 5 in the league at home record. Road kind of struggled, 17-13, which you think, okay, it's 4 games over 500, but for an elite team, that's not a very good record. Also, I believe I heard this stat the other day, they've lost 10 out of 11 on the road against teams over 500. So there's a bit of concern in Miami, but a lot of confidence, a lot of good guys, LeBron, Dwayne, of course Bosh, and then those sidekicks. Chalmers has kind of not played as well the last few weeks, but he's getting better. What do you think? Do you think it's going to come down to Miami-Chicago Eastern Conference Finals? And what if it does, what do you expect from that series?
I'm not as sure of that as I was a month ago.
Okay.
With Boston kind of coming on.
Right. Absolutely.
They might be good for one last run.
Yeah.
But let's presume it does happen, which it very well could. It's tough. They both have their problems. They're both kind of flawed teams. You have to give the edge to Miami based on talent, but we keep hoping they'll gel and play together. And the question at this point is, will they?
Right, and right. No, that's very true. They did make the finals last year, but LeBron really didn't show up. He talked about how he was the villain and all that crap, blah, blah, blah. But this year he started off the season really well. He's still actually on track, in my opinion, to most likely win the MVP or at least be in the top 3 in the voting. But it's kind of Chris Bosh hasn't played that well this year. Norris Cole, the rookie from Cleveland State, started out really well but has struggled. You look at the sidekicks on this team, and you look at the sidekicks on the Bulls, and you just realize the Bulls' bench is so much more deep. So that could be a problem if one of these guys gets injured or one guy doesn't show up. But obviously, starting lineup, the Heat probably have the best, the most talented that is starting lineup in the NBA. But we'll see what that is. We actually have about 10 more minutes. We're going to extend this a little bit so we can talk more. Playoffs are on right now with Zachary Fisher, and this is a 1-hour show that will go until 7 p.m. local time and 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But back to the playoffs. So let's talk about this Orlando Magic team who's really had a crazy year with Dwight Howard saying he's leaving, he's going, he's staying, he's leaving, now he's staying. Now he has these back problems. His team's really struggled without him. Honestly, I'm looking at the rankings right now. They're definitely going to have the 6th seed. Philly's way too far behind. So they're probably going to they actually essentially could get a 4 seed because they're very close to Boston, but they're not going to get it better than a 4 seed. So they're going to have a tough first-round matchup. They could possibly not even have home court. What do you think of this whole Orlando team? I remember we discussed this the other day off radio, who is the best player on Orlando besides Dwight Howard, and it's kind of a tough call. So what do you expect from the Magic?
Not much.
Okay, that was very well said. Why not?
Dwight just completely screwed up the chemistry of that team, and that's what they were really built on. They had guys, but they could never really match up to the talent of the elite teams. Even when the Cavs were good and people were saying there was no supporting cast, when you have LeBron and Mo Williams, those teams were getting by on great chemistry. That was always my impression, and obviously great shooting, but they really played well with Dwight, and you can't imagine that locker room very much likes Dwight right now. And
absolutely not, right.
I don't know. I can't see them doing much in the playoffs. Even if they match up with Indiana, and I said Indiana's going to have trouble getting out of the first round, Indiana's completely built on great chemistry, and it's, the team with chemistry will always beat the dysfunctional team, even if it's much less talented. Look at the 2004 finals. You need an example.
Right, and it's funny, looking at this Indiana team, it's kind of like the Indiana Hoosiers basketball team. We won't get into it too much, but just if you look at, there's not really a lot of stars. I guess Daniel Granger is their quote-unquote star, but he's not really a star, let's be honest. He has a couple all-star appearances, but he's not one of those. I wouldn't call him even a top 10 player in the NBA, maybe top 20. But this team is just very solid. Collison runs the point really well. Hibbert and Hansbrough are doing a great job. David West was a really, really great addition. Frank Vogel really has these guys believing. He's a young coach. I believe he's 40 years old. He's done a great job there. Same with his Hoosiers team this year. They had Cody Zeller. But other than that, Watford is good, but not that consistent. Jordan Halls is good. Will Sheehy, all those guys. So that's similarities there. And I guess the last team we can discuss is, you kind of mentioned earlier, the Boston Celtics, who are now 11 games over 500. and in their last 10, they're 7-3. They're playing very well. They have a pretty impressive record in against Eastern Conference teams this year, 29-4. What the real problem is, they're horrible on the road, under 500 on the road. So that could hurt you in the playoffs. But, people kind of write off this team. They still have the big three plus, I guess, Rondo, so the big four, whatever you want to call it. They lost, what's his name, Big Baby, Glenn Baby. But, this team still has a lot of chemistry. Ray Allen will still make the shot if he's open. Garnett's kind of fallen a little off, not averaging as well as he usually does. But with Rondo at the helm, you really never know what to expect. So do you think maybe they can make a run at the Eastern Conference Finals or potentially the NBA Finals, just one last bang before Danny Ainge just kind of gets rid of this team and rebuilds next year?
Absolutely. AG looks better than he has in years, and he's the motor behind that team. Even at Rondo at this point is the one actually driving the car.
Right.
KG is the metaphorical engine of that car. So
yeah, he's the heart and soul of this team. He always has.
So, if he has a good playoff and keeps the intensity up and gets everyone to play their hardest, they're gelling. And like we've been talking about talent, we've been talking about chemistry. They're not the most talented team, and they maybe don't. But of all the teams that are upper echelon and have all that talent, they probably by far have the most chemistry. And that could serve them really well in the stretch run. And Doc Rivers is a great coach. He's not going to make mistakes when in crunch time when it matters. So I think the Celtics not only could make a run, I'm not going to say they will, but I wouldn't be shocked at all.
Okay, great. So we have about 7 minutes, so let's move on to the Western Conference. Honestly, Zach, for me, this is way more exciting. We talked a lot about the East, and it was fun, but the West is just, if you love NBA, I know you're a huge NBA fan, you got to love the West this year. You got to love that Utah is a 10 seed and a game and a half out, and that Utah, Phoenix, and Houston, and really Denver will be battling. I guess even Dallas will be battling for those last 6 through 8. So those are all very good teams. I mean, this Utah team has a lot of bigs, a lot of bigs. They have 4 guys who potentially, I think we're all first-round picks. If not first-round picks, they're playing the caliber of first-round picks besides Enes Kanter. But, let's give him a couple more years. He's still only 20 years old. This Dallas team also, you don't really know what to expect from them. They've beaten every team. They've beaten Oklahoma City. They've beaten L.A. They lost last night to L.A., but it played a close game. Dirk is picking up his game. This Memphis team, in my opinion, is a dark horse. I love this team. I love that Rudy Gay is healthy this year. I love Zach Randolph starting to pick it up. They have a lot of young guys. They have Jeremy Pargo, who was a superstar in Israel last year for Maccabi Tel Aviv, so I just got to throw that out there. The Clippers, I don't know if you remember, 6 weeks ago, rumors of Diago getting fired. Suddenly, they're in the 4 seed, 2.5 out from the Lakers. Probably not going to catch them, but still, 4 seed's not bad for Clipperland. A lot of great matchups here. Let's get right to it. What are you looking forward to? What's your favorite potential first-round matchup?
Well, admittedly, I'm an East Coast guy completely, and I don't watch as much West Coast basketball except on Sundays where like yesterday I got to catch that LA-Dallas game.
Right.
But if things hold, that LA-Dallas series is going to be a great one. Now that Dirk's shown he has the heart of a champion, obviously Kobe does as well, not necessarily healthy, but even Powell's shown that he has the heart of a champion. He's really gotten a raw deal with the press.
Right. Very true.
I think that's going to be that's destined to go 7 games.
Okay, and do you think this is the year the Oklahoma City Thunder, I mean, not even the year, they are still a young team, and it's not like they failed the last few years, but do you think they can make it to the finals this year?
I really hope so. They're an easy team to root for.
Okay.
Kevin Durant's from a couple towns over for me. He's just such a likable player. And I really think they can make their run. KG can score as well as anyone or not KG. KD can score as well as anyone in the league. And he gives effort. I really like him defending Russell Westbrook against Skip Bayless's criticisms. He's really, really into team, buys into team maybe more than any other superstar. Westbrook, some people call him a chucker, but I think he's a great point guard for that team. He runs that team really well. They're full of young guys. They get better every year. We haven't even seen the best yet. I'm not even talking. I'm talking overall, but I'm also talking of this season. I think we'll see them take it to another level. These playoffs. Harden's good for 30 any game.
Right, but let me tell you
coach
something.
Is a great coach.
Yeah, he's a great coach, a great young coach too. Let me tell you something though. I'm an old school guy. I love Popovich. He's my favorite coach in the NBA. It has been since the 90s, late 90s. That is when they first won their first title. You look at this team, and it is loaded. I mean, this team is talented. I think this team is way more talented than the Heat. If you look at just the full 15-player squad, I'm just going to read off some names. I know you're a huge college basketball guy, so you'll appreciate some of these guys. Corey Joseph, who was at Texas last year. Kawhi Leonard, who is one of those instrumental guys in bringing San Diego State back to prominence. Patty Mills, who was kind of a superstar for St. Mary's those couple of years when they had those battles with Gonzaga. And I gotta mention this because I know your girlfriend Rachel Lesser is from Towson. So Gary Neal, the undrafted guy, who's really been a really instrumental player in their success this year. Then of course you got Tony Parker and Ginobili and Duncan, but even more Matt Bonner, the red man is what they call him in Toronto for a while when he was there. DeJuan Blair, great second-round pick. Danny Green, I think, is maybe the X factor of this team. He didn't play that well last year. I'm not even sure if he was on the Spurs last year. I don't think he was. He's had a great year, and they just added Steven Jackson, who helped them win one of the titles, I think, in 2003. So you look at this team, and it's just like, wow. And Thiago Splitter, who's from Spain, and got to watch him play against a lot of Israeli competition. This Spurs team.
And this is without you even mentioning the big three.
Right. The Spurs team is loaded, very well coached, has a lot of young talent. I mean, even let's say Tim Duncan is out a couple of years. The only thing I guess they're missing is a big man, but they got a lot of great guards. Gary Neal, Patty Mills, Corey Joseph, Leonard, Danny Green. So I don't know. I'm expecting a lot of good things from this team. There are a lot of young guys. Duncan's 25, Ginobili's 24, or 34, that is. But they had DeJuan Blair's 22. Boris Diaw even was an all-star. Remember that a couple years ago? He was an all-star. So
absolutely.
So good. We'll see what happens with the Spurs. We have about a couple minutes left. So I kind of want to talk about Kobe. Got to talk about Kobe. It's kind of weird watching him yesterday not play. A lot of the media has been calling him now the new head coach, which is kind of funny in my opinion. But I don't know. Kobe wants his title badly. What do you think? Do you think it's possible? Can they make it?
The Lakers?
Yeah.
You can never count them out.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, it's very true. Bynum's monster this year. Yeah,
Bynum is great. I mean, Gasol obviously is incredible. Seen him make those 2 threes in crunch time yesterday. It's something he works on in practice. He probably sees himself as a Dirk in practice, just never gets the opportunity to do that in a game. So it was really cool to see him do that. They have 2 of the most skilled big men in the league. They're going to come on. They're going to come on strong. The one thing that could hold them back is their coach, who held back a lot of Cleveland teams when LeBron was really
Mike Brown.
His star was rising.
Okay, so you know what? We got to we're running out of time. We got to go. But I want to get your predictions on the Eastern Conference Finals, how many games it will go, on the Western Conference Finals, how many games it will go, and then of course on the NBA Finals and how many games it will go. So start off with the Eastern Conference, Zach.
All right. Celtics are going to upset the Bulls somewhere along the way.
Wow. Okay.
Leading to a matchup with Miami. Miami will beat the Celtics in 6.
Okay.
And represent the East. More predictably, Oklahoma City and San Antonio will roll through their respective, playoff dockets and meet up with each other. At which point, I hate to say it, and I may have to bite my words, but San Antonio will be too old. I would even say Thunder in 5. And then I think this Thunder team's ready to win a championship, and I think they could beat the Heat in 5.
Okay, so we got you with beat the Heat in 5. So that's not even going to be a fun NBA Finals to watch. I hope you're wrong for that.
It will. It will.
Durant
completely school LeBron.
So it's obvious we're getting the notion here that you're not a big LeBron fan.
Yeah, he destroyed my Wizards team for all of my high school career.
All right, Zach, it's really been fun. We'd love to have you on again. Keep listening to Israel Sports Radio and have a good day out there in Bloomington, okay?
All right, you too, Rafi. Thank you.
Bye. Okay, so that was Zachary Fisher. That was great. We talked a lot of NBA. He's a huge NBA guy. Now that we're going to call Andy Gershman, who's a co-founder of Israel Sports Radio and the author of Modern Day Maccabees, which is going to be a great book. It's very interesting about all the guys who he's interviewed, and we'll talk about that some other time. But we're going to talk MLB with him today, so that should be exciting. Let's hope he picks up and is available right now.
Hello.
Hi, am I speaking with Andy Gershman?
Yes.
How are you doing out there? It's Raphael. You're on Louis Live.
Doing well. How are you?
I'm good. Sorry about the delay. We got into the NBA playoffs, and we just kind of went with it. It was interesting. Playoffs. They're coming up soon. With some predictions, we actually had a guy. The guy was just on was saying that he is not really a big fan of this Heat team, and he thinks they're going to fold quickly. So that was kind of interesting. But
which the Heat? I don't know. I think the year will help them. I do think the year will help them.
Right. But we didn't call you to talk about that. Obviously, we called you to talk about baseball. Let's just start off in the AL East, shall we? Why not?
Oh, that shocks me that we're going to start in the AL East. We must be starting with the team with a 3-game winning streak.
A 3-game winning streak. The Boston Red Sox. That's correct. They had a great series there against Tampa. I guess they're back in it, 1 game out with a 4-5 record. That's how bad this division is.
And they're playing right now. They should be playing right now. Since it's Patriots Day in Boston, the Boston Marathon, and then they have the last game against the Rays.
So let's update our listeners out there. It is in the bottom of the second. It is 0-0, and James Shields is pitching for the Rays. I'm not exactly sure who's pitching for the Red Sox, but I will be rooting for the Rays to win just because I will be. But let's talk.
I rooted for the Rays to win last week, and they did. We beat up on the Yankees. That was fun.
That was fun. But the Yankees are 5-4. The Orioles are 5-4. I don't really know what's going on there. What do you think? What do you think's been going on with the Orioles? I always have liked their coach when he was in Texas. Now he's with the Orioles. Do you think they? I mean, obviously it's 10 games in. It's 10 games in the season, 9 games in the season. So, but do you think they can, stay in the top of the field for the first month at least?
For the first month, maybe. I think they did last year, if I'm not mistaken. For the first month, they were got off to a hot start. The problem is that like any other team, pitching becomes inconsistent. They do have a lot of young arms, and nobody really in their lineup you fear as a hitter.
Right.
So, look, it's going to be a lot of fluky games and that kind of stuff in the first month. And so can they stay there? They probably can. I wouldn't see why not.
Right. And, this team kind of has some young talent. It's kind of weird to say young because they're now getting older. I feel like I've been maybe saying this for a few years. Nick Markakis is making $13 million, and he's kind of for the last couple of years they're always saying this is going to be his breakout year, but he just hasn't done it yet. And for a guy making $13 million, that's kind of surprising. Same with Adam Jones, who's already almost 27. I feel like he was just up. That's just weird.
Yeah, you're exactly right because both of those guys. It's funny. I had a conversation the other day, and people were talking to me about the Nationals. And, the Nationals get all the buzz. I mean, obviously, we're 10 minutes from D.C. where we are.
Right.
There I am. But he's like, let's go player by player. I'd trade up, most of the roster for, the Orioles, for the Nationals. And he starts with Markakis and Jones. And I was like, these guys, they're not prospects, obviously. But every year, like you said, everyone says, this is the year, this is the year, this is the year. Well, we've all seen careers that, it just never happened. that year never happened. And like you say, he'll make his $13 million, and he'll be okay financially, and he'll be, he'll end up with a 10-year Major League Baseball career that, always ended up at 249 and, nothing else.
Right, and they also have a lot of these veterans who are just guys who remember having those good years back in the days, but it's kind of interesting. I'm looking at now a couple of 11-year veterans, 3 11-year veterans, Wilson Betterment, who's always kind of been a solid role guy. He was on the Braves and the Yankees, a bunch of teams, the Dodgers. Really been on everyone. Nick Johnson, who was on your Nationals a couple of years ago and had a pretty good year until I think he hurt his wrist or something like that. And then Andy Chavez, who had a good year a couple of years ago, I believe, on the Mets or the Pirates or something. They got J.J. Hardy at shortstop, who for again $8 million. I don't really know if he's worth $8 million. Mark Reynolds also about $8 million. I don't know. Matt Widers, let's give him this. He's only making $500,000, and he's 25, and he's making about what he should be making. He's a good guy. He's an up and coming guy. He's still a prospect. You could say he's 25. But yeah, the pitchers, as you mentioned, a lot of young guys. But you know what? I don't really see anything.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting. And of course, your Blue Jays, off to a good start.
Just getting there. 5-4, beat the Orioles last night. Ricky Romario, who's a really, really great pitcher, in my opinion, was an all-star last year, will be pitching tomorrow. They have a series against the Rays. But I really think this AL East will be fun just to watch. Maybe this.
It is going to be. It's going to be a lot tighter than I thought. I watched the Yankees Angels last night, and and the Yankees were impressive offensively. Of course, you can't. It's hard to judge, being in Yankee Stadium where the balls fly, but they also at the same time, they to me they look old.
Yeah, it's true.
Especially the left side of that infield with Jeter and A-Rod. A-Rod looks old to me,
He does. He's getting bigger. He's getting bigger, kind of like Bonds. What happened with Bonds? Well, that was steroids, I guess, but his body's just getting bigger. But yeah.
One of the funniest comments of the night was there was a collision between A-Rod and Pujols at first base.
Right.
And the announcer says that's $500 million just collided, which was
very true.
Good, nice, funny comment.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Yankees and the Sox because Jacoby Ellsbury goes out on the 15-day. And look, the kid that came up in center, he's playing nice defensively, but that's big. But they seem to have the bats going. They were feasting on Tampa Bay.
Right.
The first 3 games. Ortiz has gotten off to an unbelievable start.
Yeah, that's. I remember they had that contract argument at the start of the year. But
exactly. But the question is going to be their starting pitching, and
same with the Yankees, I would say.
And they're closing. It's going to go both ways.
Right.
So it'll be a fun division to look at. That's for sure.
And Derek Jeter is actually off to a good start, which has really been the problem the last 3 years. He's always struggling. But the leader right now for the Yankees, if you look at their roster, it's probably the guy who's not making the least amount of money. But Nick Swisher is leading them in RBIs, which is kind of weird considering he's probably getting paid, I don't know, maybe $5 million or $8 million, not $20 million or $25. But he's a good guy. I liked him on the Oakland Athletics. He kind of had a disappointing year last year, but he's a guy. He's a guy who you never.
I think he suffered from the curse of Israel Sports Radio because he wouldn't come on with us one day, and I think that's what happened.
Well, you look at his 2010 year was 30 home runs, 90 RBIs, and 290. That's not bad for a guy who's probably batting 6 on the team. So.
Right.
So yeah, but let's move on to this AL West because we got to talk about this because I got to say this. When we were making our predictions, everyone was riding high in the Los Angeles Angels, and I stuck with my Rangers. I said they're still going to be good, and the Angels have really, really struggled. Why do you think that is? Jeff Weaver's No, not Jeff Weaver. That's his brother. Jared Weaver, I believe, is pitching well. But a lot of the other guys have struggled. Albert's kind of struggled.
I tell you, Albert has struggled.
Albert has really struggled, that is, yeah.
And that team, I think, the way it's built now is going to revolve around him hitting. And I don't think he has any home runs, right, at this point.
No, I think he has even less than 5 RBI. He's not having a good start.
Right. So, look, it could just be, adjustments. As the saying goes, you can't win the pennant in April, but you can certainly lose it.
Right.
And, it'll be interesting to see if they can just hold their own and make a move, as the season progresses. I'm sure there's going to be, a little kind of getting used to that. They signed, obviously Pujols and Wilson, and, Socha's style is probably very different than La Russa. Mm-hmm. It is strange to see Pujols in the American League.
Yeah.
It's very weird to me.
Yeah.
But it'll. I think like Texas, and we all know they were 1 out away twice, or 1 strike away, whatever it was.
Right.
And they're going to be good. I just think that the Angels will eventually put it together and kind of get into a rhythm that they certainly are not in now.
I'll tell you this, Andy. I look at the outfield of the Los Angeles A's, and I tell you, this is the oldest, the most overrated, or maybe not most overrated, but most overpaid. I mean, you got Bobby Abreu, who's 38, making $9 million.
Right.
And then the worst one I know from experience is Vernon Wells, who's actually, if you look at it, he's getting paid, I think, in the top 5 in all the majors. He's getting paid $24 million. I remember when he signed that deal. And Torrey Hunter's getting almost $19 million. So those two guys are not even worth $5 million probably, but they're getting paid big bucks.
Now Abreu's filling in, right? Who got hurt who's the normal? I think Abreu is just he just came in last night, I think, for the first time.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
He's not there every day.
No.
But look, Torrey Hunter has obviously lost a step.
Definitely.
And so, yeah, that is one. It's funny you said it because, when you think of names, if you said, Vernon Wells, Abreu and Hunter, automatically you think great outfield. And then you
think about it.
Computing ages and, and history. And it's like, wow, those guys have been around. So, no, I agree. It is. But, like I said, they got some protexia there at first base if he ever starts hitting.
Right, and now shifting to the Rangers, I still don't get why so many. I mean, Josh Hamilton's off to a monster start, almost hitting 400. Yep. Ian Kinsler, our boy, one of our stars, one of our Jewish stars in baseball, is having a great start. He signed that, I think, $75 million contract. Michael Young's always just seems to be kind of there, if that makes sense. He always has a good year. Beltre hopefully will be having a good year. And I think maybe an X-factor addition to the squad is Joe Nathan, who is really a kind of one of those underrated closers with the Twins in his days, but he's off to a very, very good start. So Seattle's kind of having a good start too. 6-5 is not bad for that team.
Not bad, and they're actually scoring runs, which is,
shocking, yeah.
I think they scored 5 runs yesterday, which could be their total from the first 6 games of last year, because that team struggles for runs, and they're certainly, they're going to make some noise. They could play spoiler, but in the end, I think they will be very similar to the Orioles and kind of just fizzle on out.
Right, and let's give some credit to Billy Beane for getting. It's very difficult for me to pronounce this. Maybe you'll be able to help me. I'll just call him the Cuban prospect. I think it's Cespedes Yoenis Cespedes, who came in from Cuba, and I believe is probably making like $8 million a year, which is by probably the top. But he's had a very, very good start. 3 home runs, 7 RBIs. The interesting thing about this team is the leader in batting average through 9 games is a guy by the name of Cliff Pennington, who's hitting .229. I was looking at this earlier. That's just shocking that you have 4 wins when when your batting leader is hitting 229. I mean, I don't know. That's weird. But that could be an interesting division if Oakland Manny will be back, right? In 50 games or something like that.
50 games.
So he'll add. Let's stay with the Central before we move real quick to the National League. The Tigers are doing what everyone expected. The Twins, what do you think's going on there? Last year they had a horrible year. Now they're off to a bad start. What do you think is the problem in Minnesota?
Again, it's just I think the division, first of all, is a problem for them. I think, maybe some of these guys that had great seasons, early, Mauer, and it's just a kind of a strange,
Murnau.
Dynamic going on there that maybe they were just overhyped or, something. And they certainly, cannot seem to get going. And again, they're in the division. Detroit, is going to be unbelievable.
Right, absolutely.
And, the Royals are going to be the Royals, but Cleveland, it's going to be kind of just a strange, they're going to have to fight for it. Now they have a series coming up with the Yankees, so it's not going to get any easier for them, and I don't know. It's the Central, and it's almost like, with football, when you take that similar division, it's just kind of, they all just kind of bash each other's brains in.
Yeah.
The Twins, the 2-7,
right.
And it's just, you look at them 4 games back already, and, I think it's very different than the Angels.
Yeah, the Angels might take some time to click, but Joe Mauer really only played half the season last year. He's making $23 million, I think, for the next 5 years. Justin Murnau won that MVP over Derek Jeter that year. You got to wonder if maybe he was a bit overhyped after that. Besides that, you look at this team, and there's not much. Like, there's not a lot of noteworthy guys on the team. Francisco Liriano was supposed to be the superstar, and then he hurt his elbow. But he had an actually pretty solid season. But when you have, I was looking at, I think Carl Pavano is like their ace this year, making the most money. That's a problem. That's not a good thing.
Right. That's not a good thing at all. Josh Willingham,
right?
He's got enough to, good start, whatever. But you don't want Josh Willingham to be your leader.
No,
that is for sure. You want a team that's gonna be led by your high paid Joe Mauer. That's for sure.
Yeah, and Joe. It's as a baseball fan, as also as a catcher fan. I'm a big catcher fan. It's sad to see because he was supposed to be this. I think he hit 330 2 years ago, and now last year he barely played. This year is not off to a good start. But, we'll see. Let's give him some time. It's only the first 9 games. But, let's start with
the thing is, though, that in their win, where they have 2 wins, right?
Yeah.
They scored 10 runs and 6 runs. In their losses, they've only scored 1 or 2 runs.
Right.
So it's a feast or famine type of thing. Actually, yesterday they scored 3 runs in a loss. But, again, going into Yankee Stadium, you've got to score – you've got to score some runs, or they're going to just, pummel you at Yankee Stadium. There's no other way to put it.
Right, and just with signing Joe Mauer and Murnau to those contracts recently, the last few years, it's kind of weird to say they might be in rebuilding mode. That's just a weird thing to think of, but they might. Maybe it's time for Ron to go. Maybe he'll get fired. Who knows? We'll see. I remember for a few years that the Twins were either going to win the division every year or make the wild card. That's the way it was, and it doesn't seem to. Those days seem to be long gone now. But let's. We have about 12 minutes left. Let's shift to your. Well, I don't even know if they're your Washington Nationals, but they're in your area. So 7-3. The hype has proved right. They're 7-3. They're playing well on the road, 4-2. I mean, let's put that on hold. Let's start with the Marlins, who are supposed to be the real hype, 4-6. What do you think's been going on there?
Well, I can tell you it's been good starting pitching. I mean, I went to opening day. It's been one of those things where, I mean, Gio Gonzalez didn't give up any runs over 7 innings. Lidge got hit late to tie it up. They lost yesterday, but again in extra innings. I think every game in this Cincinnati series has gone to extra innings except for one. 3 out of the 4 went to extra innings. Mm-hmm. They've gotten some timely hitting. Adam LaRoche,
right, 12 RBIs,
has gotten off to a great start. Which, when you think Adam LaRoche as your cleanup hitter, you don't have the best feelings, but he's doing it, and he really has.
He was injured last
taken
year.
That spot.
Very injured last year, but the year before he hit 25 home runs and 100 RBIs. So that's not bad,
Right. So and then Ian Desmond, of course.
Yeah, Ian Desmond.
You take the overpaid, which most people thought were overpaid.
Oh, I know.
Paid man himself, Jason Worth. He's batting .350, and he had the game I went to, he had an infield single. I mean, he's hustling out there. He knows what the fans are saying.
Right.
And he's trying to make right about it. I mean,
that's good.
Strasburg, what are you going to say about Strasburg? He's at a .69
and he's
run average.
Pitching tonight, right, Andy? He's pitching tonight, I believe.
That?
He's pitching tonight. Yeah.
He should be pitching tonight.
Okay.
And then Jordan Zimmerman's got a 1.29. Edwin Jackson strikes out 15.
Yeah, he's great
so far.
Talent. And Brad Lidge is on this team. So I didn't notice that until a couple of days ago.
Yeah, Brad Lidge. I mean, he gave up a couple of runs the other day. He had a tough outing in the opening day, but, he gives them, because Storin is out till July, the closer. So Lidge comes in, gives them a little stability back there, and, he gives them veteran leadership on the pitching staff, which, and then you bring over Edwin Jackson, who, was on a World Series team last year. Gio Gonzalez,
Oakland
can pitch. So they, and like I said, they've got, and Strasburg so far is living up to the hype.
Yeah.
So it's the Astros, you got off to a decent start, but, this team should be able to beat up on the Astros. And, around here, fans are excited. Fans are talking about the Nationals. You see more Nationals hats than I thought I'd ever see.
Wow.
It's still one of those stadiums, don't get me wrong, where you go to a game and you still see the guy walking around in a Detroit Tigers hat, a Cubs hat, a Yankees hat, a Red Sox hat. You don't see that in cities that have had baseball for a long time. And but Washington's a very transient, city. So you still have a lot of fans trying to get used to the Nationals.
Mm-hmm. Trying to grasp.
And it was funny because, you said, are they my Nationals? Look, I think you always have a tendency to follow the team close that you're living in the city, whether you like them or not.
Right, you have to. You have no choice.
Right, it's the buzz. It's what's going on. I mean, honestly, my if it was in any other division, I would have no problem jumping right in. But I am a Braves fan at heart, and that's really my National League team is the Braves.
And they're 5-4, 1.5 out. That's not horrible. It's not good. It's average.
And they started off 0-4, so they've won the last 5.
Right. Which
so
Jason Hayward's off to a good start, which is good news there.
And I have to think. I don't know that we're going to see much out of the Mets, as we go forward. But we'll see. It's good to see Jason Hayward hitting, and McCann is the only six years in a row All-Star. You have Chipper Jones, 2 home runs already.
Right.
So, you'll take it. Unfortunately, Dan Ugla has just not performed since he's come over from
Florida.
the Fish.
Right.
He just hasn't really performed. I mean, he's hitting 206 this year, in this opening, which you got to get more out of him. You just have to.
Right.
But, you'll see what happens. I mean, Jason Hayward is supposed to be the future of this franchise, so for him to start off at 345 and McCann to hold his own at 276,
And
that's
Freddie Freeman's really struggling. I remember looking at the box score the other day, striking out like crazy.
I mean, he's only hitting like 162 or something like that.
And Michael Bourne, a guy who I love, not really for anything besides just to watch him when he steals a base. It's just really entertaining. Just watch that. He's 243, but we only have a couple minutes left, so let's quick to the Fish. Speaking of the Fish, Josh Johnson is off to a horrible start. He's supposed to be the ace of this team. He's 0-2 with a 9 ERA or something like that. I don't know, 8 ERA. I don't know. Hopefully he turns things around. I kind of am rooting for the Marlins just because it's a nice story, but they're off to a bad start. In the Central, the new Cardinals, I guess the new look Cardinals are doing what they're doing. They're 7-3. The rest of the division is really struggling. Houston is in second place. That's weird to see in the last few years. Milwaukee doesn't seem to be the same since Prince left, but they might be. Ryan Braun's off to a good year. Ryan Braun, that is. Corey Hart's doing well. And they also have, I believe they have Aramis Ramirez, who they got from the Cubs, who could be a okay addition. And this pitching staff is still nasty. I love this pitching staff. Sean Markham was with the Jays for a few years, and he really has the potential to be one of the best pitchers in the league if he wants. And Zach Greinke, we know what he can do. Just running through the teams real quick. The Cubs, got to feel bad for those Cubby fans, are 3-7. Not really looking good at all. There's nothing really to say positively about them, in my opinion. Ryan Dempster has a good ERA, but I think he was their starter this year, and that's kind of weird to have him as your opening day starter. Castro is good. He's a young guy. Matt Garza, I like Matt Garza. What are your thoughts on Matt Garza from Tampa?
I like Garza. I do. I think a lot of these guys, time will tell. It's sort of like the James Shields thing.
Right.
Big game James. I mean, how many big games has he really?
One.
Pitched in.
Yeah.
Go back to the Super Bowl. One thing with Beltran. What do you think of him? And he's hitting 324.
Yeah.
And St. Louis. And
right.
Change of scenery is that the end of the year in San Francisco hitting about the same. But to have about a 35, 40 point shift from when he left New York is it's quite a shift. And you always talk about the pressure of New York City, but is there really that much pressure as a Met?
And let's give credit to I remember you and Ari really talked about this when we had you on for the prediction. David Freese is off to a great start. I got to give him a shout out there.
That's my MVP choice. What do you mean?
That's your MVP choice. 11 RBIs, 406. Really, really was kind of that X factor in the playoffs. That's really the best. You always think of what an X factor is, and that was really the best definition.
Exactly. That's the true definition of it, because you always have those guys that we once asked someone in the Super Bowl, I think it was this Ari and I, the Saints Colts Super Bowl. We said, who's going to be the X factor? And he said Peyton Manning. Like, the quarterback can't be the X factor.
No, that's
sort of like saying Albert Pujols would be the X factor. But no, Freese got off to a good start. Right where he left off, and can he continue? We'll have to see about that.
Right, and last division, the West, the Magic Johnson's Dodgers. That we can say that now. 9-1.
That's right.
9-1.
Unbelievable.
Best record in the majors. Definitely, I can't say that anyone expected it, or maybe I don't know. I looked at the preseason poll or preseason rankings and stuff. They definitely weren't picked to win. From what I saw, but Matt Kemp is off to a ridiculous start. I think he's leading the league in everything. I'm pretty sure.
Right.
In average, home runs, and RBIs. This is his year.
I mean, to think that they have a 7-game lead already over the Padres is
right.
Unbelievable.
And Ben,
yeah, I mean, look, this team is, who knows? Maybe they were just truly rejuvenated after finally, getting a deal done and not having this whole nonsense surrounding them. But yeah, Matt Kemp is hitting like almost 500 at this point, 487.
Something like that.
6 home runs, 16 ribs. I mean, unbelievable. Juan Rivera. I mean, he's second at 290. I mean, there's a 200-point difference between their first hit, their highest batting average and second, which is unreal.
Right. Looking at the starting pitching after Kershaw and Billingsley, it's kind of these veteran guys, Aaron Harang and Chris Capano, who've been there.
Right.
Those aren't bad guys, maybe, to have as your 3 and 4. And even
right.
Ted Lilly. Ted Lilly is not a bad. I think he might even be their 5th, their number 5 or something like that. So that's a pretty solid top 5, don't you think?
Right. Oh, I definitely think so. And it'll be interesting because, this team, Donnie Baseball is still the manager, right?
Yeah, Don Mattingly. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, which is interesting. Also, just because following in the footsteps of Jerry Torre. But I mean, you look at the team; they're 6-0. They haven't lost at home, which is unbelievable. And look at that division. I mean, Arizona is a young team which will make a run. But does Colorado, San Francisco, or San Diego really excite anyone? I don't think so.
No.
So, this team, with the two, when you've got a situation where you've got 2 wild cards from each division, look, I mean, they could certainly make a playoff run. And don't forget, they're only, 2 years ago, right?
Right.
They made the playoffs with the whole Manny craze.
Right. And, and San Fran right now Tim Lincecum is really struggling at like over 10 ERA.
Right.
The weird part is Barry Zito is finally, I mean, it's early in the season, but he has a 1 ERA and has pitched really well in his 2 starts, so that's kind of funny, kind of ironic. And Brian Wilson might be out with that Tommy John. They're still waiting to hear about that. But really the problem with the San Fran team, and I guess Beltran kind of helped, is they have no offense. You look at this team and it's like who Pablo Sandoval is like their offensive leader. I mean, that's scary. Like, so the year they won the World Series, to me, it was kind of shocking they did it with what they had. But their pitching was ridiculous that year. But the Dodgers, like we said, they have good pitching. They have good hitters, James Loney, and of course Kemp is off to a ridiculous start. Maybe to prove that he should have won the MVP last year. Who knows? The whole thing.
But the funny thing is, he said he wouldn't take it, and
right, he wouldn't take
after
it.
The fact, remember?
Right, but I just was reading an article by Passon on Yahoo Sports who was writing about Kemp, and it's just having one of the best starts I think ever. And if you watch him, I watched the Dodger game in Israel. It was kind of weird that it was on. It was on Fox Sports Israel. Not live, of course.
Right.
Of course not live. But and just watching his focus, he seems determined for something. I don't know if it's an MVP or for them to win or something like that. But last thing, we've gone over the time, but whatever, it's okay. Last thing, Kevin Youkilis and Bobby Valentine are already going at it. What do you think that's about? And what is Bobby doing? It's only 10 games in the season, he's already fighting with his players.
I think Bobby is doing what Bobby does.
Right.
Look, this is what you're gonna just have to deal with as a Red Sox fan. I mean, it's gonna be quirky. It really is. It's like, Nicholas took some heat at the end of the year last year for his I'm trying to think how to work. I guess he and Jacoby Ellsbury or something got into it about his dedication to the team and everything, and it sounds like Bobby is just kind of regurgitating, a lot of this, which is really interesting because, I did have the opportunity to interview Kevin for my book.
Right.
I'll call him Kevin. Why not? And, it's funny, one of the things I talked about was his injury, and, and all he talked about was how important it was for him to get on the field as soon as possible and be, and that I think is where he and Jacoby Ellsbury got into it, was about an injury and where he thought somebody should come back, sooner than they did. So, who knows? I think baseball players are so sensitive, and I think it's no different than their managers. And they're all, the quote-unquote unwritten rules of baseball, all this nonsense that goes on in baseball, you just don't have it everywhere else,
Yeah.
And I think it'll blow over, and you know what? A couple of RBIs, a home run, and a good stop on defense, and, it all goes away.
Right, and
that's how, remember, I know it's a different manager, but, you're talking last year with Ortiz was getting killed in the media, and killed by everyone. And then, he starts hitting, and, hey, no one cares.
Right, and you know what? The last thing we're going to end with, just because why not? Tim Tebow was at the Los Angeles Angels Yankee game with Dwayne Wade. What are your thoughts on that?
Uh-huh.
Your closing thoughts on that?
Well, he got booed.
Yeah.
Which I think is interesting. And I was listening to Mike and Mike this morning, and I would have to say they gave it way too much time.
Of course.
Because I don't think it matters if they get booed, first of all. Second of all, you know what? Let's be honest. Tebow is kind of a quirky dude, but why boo him? Other than, let's figure out where he was. He was at Yankee Stadium, right?
Right.
The normal allegiance is the Giants, not the Jets.
Right.
To the Yankees. It's funny, I guess they booed D. Wade also, and then he held up a Yankees hat or something.
Yeah.
Everyone started clapping.
Yeah.
So, it is what it is. Tebow, I heard Tebow did some celebrity golf,
right.
to raise money the other day.
I know what you're going to
say.
And
a couple paid $100,000 to spend the day with him.
He's going to be a backup icon. I think we can say that.
Right.
I don't even know if he's going to start. He'll probably play, or for sure play, but we'll see if he starts.
One more question for you. I was checking the box scores. I couldn't find the Maple Leafs score from last night.
Ooh, I'm gonna have to say.
Oh, that's right. That's right. The playoffs started.
I'm gonna have to say goodbye now. It's horrible. It's a Maple Leafs. They sell out. They have the best attendance in the league. I went to a game when I was little. Of course, my family's there. And I don't know. I don't want to talk about it. Thank you for bringing that up, for ending that.
I want to tell you, the Bruins Cap series, unbelievable.
Right. Yeah. It's and also the Penguins. I'm shocked to see them down 3-0-3. I really hope they can do one of those Yankee Red Sox thingies that happened a few years ago and come back, because everyone wants to see Crosby as far as they can in the playoffs, and it looks like he's about to go home early. But
it doesn't look good for them. Of course, the Flyers did it to the Bruins, 2 years ago?
2 years. I remember that. 2 years ago, I think, or recently. Right.
Yeah, so it can happen, but if it's going to, it'll be interesting to see if it does happen. But the Bruins Caps is going to be a great series. I mean, look, the Kings have Vancouver down 3-0, so
right.
I don't know. Do Canadians play hockey anymore? Weird.
Well, it's a Canadian teams. It's a Canadian players that are on these American teams.
Tim Thomas is the only American on the Bruins. So.
Yeah, even also they have a lot of Europeans, I think. Not Swedish. What's that? Czech Republic, or from what are those countries? Anyway, thank you so much for joining us.
All right.
We'll
have a good one.
You too. Have a good day, and good luck to your Braves as the season progresses.
You don't mean it. Okay.
All right. See you later, Andy.
All right.
Bye. Okay, so that was Andy Gershom, who is the author of Modern Day Maccabees, and we had a great show today. We had an hour show, went a little over, but Goldstein Gelt's going to be on right now into about a minute. Tomorrow we have a great show. We have Bill Foran, who's assistant coach for the Miami Heat. We have Richard Gotham, who's the the president of the Boston Celtics, who coming on. Lynn Lashbrook, who's a very well-known sports agent. Tomorrow's going to be a great show. We have a great week coming up. We just booked Kurt Schilling for next week, we believe. Tommy Smith from ESPN, Mark Stein from ESPN. So we have a lot of great guests coming up. And that's it for me. Good night. Good afternoon in America. I hope everyone's having a good day.